Hello everybody and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel, and this is the rating show from the away game in Roma, the 3-2 defeat in the second leg. Everybody knows who watches regularly that I only do these shows when I've had a chance to watch the game again. I can't just mark players having watched it once live, and I've only just managed to watch it. It's Sunday morning now, we're playing Aston Villa this afternoon, and I've only just managed early this morning to watch the game. Just as a thought on the night, by the way, unbelievable amount of chances for Roma. There really was. Right from the first minute, they had chances. First 2 minutes, I think they had 2 chances in the first 2 or 3 minutes, and in a little spell in the second half, they had 3 really good chances in the space of like 3 minutes, and other chances dotted around. Mkhitaryan hit the post. Just an unbelievable amount of chances. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they could have got with us scoring 2. Well, they scored 2 at Old Trafford. With us scoring 2, they would have needed to have scored 6 just to take it to extra time. So despite the amount of chances they had, goals do change games. And it doesn't necessarily mean if they'd have put a chance in at a certain point that they still would have got so many chances later on. There is the chance that United would tighten up, make substitutions, just different things that can happen. So even though they had plenty of chances, it doesn't mean that they could have scored all of those chances. They could might have scored 1 or 2, and then the whole game can change from that moment by United taking a different attitude to the game, like I say, maybe making substitutions. But it certainly made for an interesting game, and at one point, on about 60-65 minutes, just over 60 minutes gone, it was 7-4 on aggregate at that point, and they had two shots in quick, a header, and then a follow-up shot, both inside the 6-yard box. Straight at David de Gea, saved them both, and then about 2 minutes after that, they had another chance inside the 6-yard box. It was Mkhitaryan, and he shot straight at David de Gea. Didn't know much about it. He shot straight at David de Gea, literally from about 4 yards. So they had 3 chances inside the 6-yard box in the space of 3 minutes, with the score at 7-4 on aggregate. If one of those would have gone in 7-5 on aggregate with more than 25 minutes to play, it really could have been an exciting climax to the game. But it wasn't to be for Roma. We went up the other end. Cavani scored a fantastic header, and really that completely put the game to bed. It was 8-4 on aggregate at that point, and they did get another one later on. But I've got the ratings in front of me from the Manchester Evening News, which I will go through now. David de Gea, the scoreboard might well have read Roma 0, David de Gea 0 for the first 35 minutes. Made some superb saves to deny Roma any hope, and they've given him a 9 out of 10. Most people who watch regularly know that I rarely give a 9. I did give 2 9s out in the home leg, but I rarely give a 9 out. And we did concede 3 goals. So even when a keeper keeps a clean sheet, I always say he's got to get at least a 7. Depending on how many saves he makes, he might get a better mark than that. But as well as David de Gea, he did make 3 or 4 really good saves. He made 2 or 3 important saves that he didn't know much about. He just hit him. But I think I will just say that he played very well. He played very well. I wouldn't say absolutely outstanding. So I would give David de Gea an 8, and they've given him a 9. Aaron Wan-Bissaka booked for an overzealous challenge, but was lively in the first half. But he was withdrawn at the post. I think it was sensible to take him off at the break. I put that on Twitter. I said, get him off at half time. He's on a card. So he got, because of that yellow card in the first half, if he'd have got another yellow card, obviously they've been suspended for the final. If you get sent off, you're suspended for the final. So I think it was sensible to take him off at half time. They've given him a 6, and a 6 is decent to above average. I would say that's fair enough for Aaron Wan-Bissaka for that game. So I agree with that 6. Very interestingly, predictably, at least look, I don't agree often with what the writers put in the Manchester Evening News, but it is interesting that he sees this player the way I see him, because the way I see people talking about Eric Baily being our best centre-back is beyond me. It is really beyond me. And the Evening News writer has put a predictably haphazard return. Haphazard is a perfect description, I think, for Eric Baily. There was one pass in the first half where he's got the ball in sort of between the right back and the centre back position, only 5 or 8 yards outside his own box, and he tries a cross-field pass that comes about 4 or 5 feet off the ground, and it smashes into Fred and then bounces off Fred to one of their. He wasn't under pressure. He wasn't under pressure, Baily. It's just a sloppy ball that smashes into Fred, bounces to one of their players, and ended up with a shot at goal. That's just one thing. I will name one other thing as well, by the way. A predictably haphazard return on his first club game in nearly 2 months, conceded numerous fouls and nowhere near Edin Dzeko for the goal. Well, I don't agree with that bit. That's harsh, nowhere near Edin Dzeko for his goal. That is really harsh. That ball just flashes across the box. But they've given him a 4, and a 4 is poor. I would probably have to agree with that. I was thinking of giving him a 5 average, but there was that many things. There's something that I've noticed this morning, that watching it again. This is just one thing amongst many. But you need to be switched on when you're playing football, especially in defence. You've got to be switched on and get into position quickly. And in the second half, the moment, if anybody who's got this on record, you can easily find this. The moment in the second half where Mkhitaryan hits the post. If you run that back, because the camera people zoom in on things, you can't often see how a move developed. So when Mkhitaryan hit the post, I thought to myself, how has he ended up in that space in the inside left channel through this channel? Because don't forget, he's running through the inside left channel, which is Baily's channel. He's playing our right-sided centre-back, so as they're coming onto him, that's their left. Maguire's our left centre-back, so he's had to come over to try and block Mkhitaryan. Mkhitaryan's hit the post, so I thought to myself, where's Baily there? So I rewound it, and what had just happened, the camera had only just flashed onto Mkhitaryan, literally as he ran into the box and shot, so you couldn't tell. There's no way of seeing it. You can't find it. It's not there on the footage. You can't tell how that move develops. You can't tell how he gets into the box in space and shoots. So if you rewind it, what you can see is that Baily really clumsily jumps into Edin Dzeko just inside their half and fouls him. And they get a free kick. And the camera is on Dzeko and Baily, and you can see Baily pick the ball up, and you can't really tell what he's doing, either complaining at the ref or complaining to Dzeko. But then the camera angle changes, you can't see what happens next. But then you can see Mkhitaryan a few seconds later running into the box and shooting and hitting the post. It got a deflection as well, so they got a corner out of it. So what I've done is I've timed it. You can't see what happens, but what you can do is you can time it. You've got the clock on it, so I've timed it from Baily committing the foul only just inside, literally a yard or two inside their half, to Mkhitaryan running into the box and getting a shot off. 12 seconds elapses. You can just time it on the clock. What Baily's doing, I don't know. You've got to be sharper than that. You're playing as a central defender. You've got to get back in position quickly. So whatever he was doing, picking the ball up, and the camera goes off him, whether he shouts at the ref, I don't know what he does. I can't imagine that he just stands there and waits for 4 or 5 seconds and then decides to run back. He must have been doing something. I don't know what he was doing. The camera isn't on him long enough. But it's an easy thing to do. I've timed it from the foul to Mkhitaryan running in the box. It's 14 seconds. It takes 4, 5 or 6 seconds to run back into position. So when Mkhitaryan hits it, if you do look back, you can see Baily at that point sprinting back. So instead of just jogging back, which is all he would need to do, he just jog back and get in position before they take the free kick. But for whatever reason, he hasn't gone back. It isn't good enough. It really isn't good enough. And his positional sense lets him down too often. And I'm just not convinced by Eric Baily one little bit. I'm really not. And I'm forever seeing people on Twitter saying he's the best centre-back we've got. And it is unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. So they're giving him a 4. I will stick with that, a 4. They've only given Harry Maguire a 5. Is it a 5? Yes, it's a 5. I can't believe that. Made some key clearances amid Roma's pressure, but much has changed. He's now much better next to Victor Lindelof. Well, he will be better next to Victor Lindelof. Maguire and Lindelof are both competent centre-backs, and I don't believe Eric Baily is a competent centre-back. And they're giving him a 5. I think we'd have been in a mess without Harry Maguire the other night. I thought Harry Maguire played quite well. I've just watched it again, and I'm giving Harry Maguire a 7. I'm not saying he was brilliant. A 7. He's just good. He had a good game. That's all I'm saying. He had a good game. Nothing brilliant, nothing fantastic, but he certainly played well, Harry Maguire, and I'm giving him a 7. Luke Shaw, not at his usual level, and got caught out on one occasion. He did. He got robbed of the ball right near the dead ball line. But De Gea spared him. That was another save that De Gea made. That wasn't a save from a shot on goal. He sort of saved that with his feet as he was trying to pick somebody out in the 6-yard box. Also taken off at half time. I think Wan-Bissaka was taken off at half time. Don't forget, we were 1-0 up at half time. 7-2 up on aggregate. Obviously, the game's finished. Wan-Bissaka was taken off because he was on a yellow card, without a doubt, to save him getting a second yellow and missing the final. And Luke Shaw, I've got no doubt in my mind. He's probably, well, for most people, he's probably our player of the season. He's really important, and I think the game was finished. It was just a case of take Luke Shaw off. Let's make sure he doesn't get injured. He's fit to fight another day against Aston Villa this afternoon. So it's not a slight against his performance. He was taken off purely and simply to make sure he's fit and ready to play again today against Aston Villa. But I would give Luke Shaw a 7. He did get that ball taken off him once. It was a bit sloppy, but that's just one thing, not numerous things. So I thought Luke Shaw was fine, perfectly fine. And don't forget, we were leading 1-0 at half time. They did have 2 or 3 good chances though in the first half, Roma, but we were leading 1-0. Donny Van de Beak shunted to the left as he was not performing in midfield, and he didn't even start in midfield. The writers got that wrong. He started on the left. And did not get much better. Created a shot for Bruno Fernandes. That was about it. So when he says that was about it, so what he's saying here is created a shot for Bruno Fernandes. That was about it. So that's as if to say, if you're not creating chances and shots for people all the time, that you're not doing anything. Is that what that means? A 4 is poor. Van de Beek wasn't that poor. He was sloppy in possession 2 or 3 times, but he did plenty of good things as well. And I think he hardly ever gets a game. I know the same applies to Bailey, by the way. Hardly ever plays. But Donny Van de Beek, he looks after the ball better. He played some really neat touches. He was sloppy in possession a couple of times, but I would give him a 5. I would just say Donny Van de Beek was average, no better than average. Fred assisted Edison Cavani's first goal, but regressed with his role in Cristante's goal, and collected a booking as well. And they've given him a 5, which is average. Yeah, I would say he was average, Fred. Yeah, no better than average. Got dispossessed on the edge of his own box, which led to a goal, which I always say one incident doesn't mean you've had a bad game, and one really good incident doesn't mean you've had a good game either. But overall, Fred, I would say just a 5, average. Mason Greenwood had 2 chances either side of the break, and should certainly have converted the second. He should. Will have benefited from the experience. What does he mean by that? Missing 2 chances. They've given him a 6. Which is decent, so above average. I don't agree with that. Mason gets a 5 off me. Positional sense not good enough for me. I felt a bit sorry. I'm going to come to the subs. I only mark the subs who get half a game, and the 2 fullbacks got half a game. And I thought Williams was left a little bit high and dry, not defensive minded enough. Look, we're well in charge of the game. I do get that, but you need to work on these things. You need to work on things to make sure they're right all the time. it's a professional way of looking at the game, and Mason's defensive work was not good enough in that game, and he left Williams high and dry 2 or 3 times in that second half. And like Dave said, he missed a couple of chances. I also noticed in the first 40 seconds of the game, the very first 40 seconds, Bruno floated a really gentle ball out to him, dead easy, and he's waiting for it on the touchline, and he just missed it completely, and there's no reason to miss it. It went out for a throw into them. I also saw him get dispossessed a few times too easily. So I would say Mason Greenwood, he's only just worth an, I was tempted to give him a 4, Paul, but I'd give him a 5. I'd say he was average. Bruno Fernandes links up well with Cavani before he crossed for the Uruguayans' second. Offered invaluable respite in attack. They've given him a 7. I wouldn't say a 7. That's a good game. I would say he was one of the better performers, though. I would give Bruno a 6. Certainly kept it simple, like I like him too. Sometimes goes over the top with the difficult passes, but I thought he had a decent game, and that's what 6 is, just decent. So he had a decent game. And Paul Pogba suffered from being moved from the left to accommodate Van de Beak. Sacrifice for Nemanja Matic as United shored things up. Very interesting comment from the writer that they've given him a 5, which is average. I would agree with that. Paul Pogba had an average game. He got dispossessed. It's a funny old game. Outcome bias. I often refer to it, outcome bias. Fred got dispossessed on the edge of the box, and they smashed it into the roof of the net or into the side netting. They scored from it, basically. Pogba also got dispossessed on the edge of the box, and it was Pedro that dispossessed him. Pedro has a decent shot on him, he's a decent goal scorer, but his shot went over the bar. On another day, Pedro's shot might go in, and Fred's shot might go over, when they dispossessed Fred, that shot, in other words, Cristante's shot, that might have gone over the bar. So it's more levelled at Fred that you've made a mistake that's cost us. Whereas it's nothing to do with Fred that he actually scored. Well, it is his fault, obviously. But that player could shoot wide. Whereas in Pogba's case, he got dispossessed on the edge of the box. It's only through sheer luck that they shot over the bar. They might have shot into the net. So it's out. I call it outcome bias. So it's more levelled at Fred that was poor, but it's no poorer than what Pogba did, except they didn't score. It was their fault that they didn't score. So, and that's not. I mean, getting dispossessed on the edge of his own box is not the only thing. As I always say, it's not just one mistake that means you've had a poor game. Dispossessed in other areas 2 or 3 times. A couple of sloppy passes. I noticed that Robbie Savage, by the way, in commentary, he drives me mad at times. I noticed Pogba played a cross-field pass that missed its target by miles and went out for a throw-in. And 10 minutes later, he played a cross-field pass and it hit the target. And Robbie Savage said, "That's what I like about Pogba. He can do that." I thought to myself, well, why didn't you just say 10 minutes ago that you didn't like it when he just tried a cross-field pass that went into touch? And some of the stuff that Robbie Savage was talking about in that game drove me mad. I was tempted to turn the sound down. Yeah, and also the interesting thing here that the writer has put, he suffered after being removed from the left to accommodate Van de Beak. I was wondering there, I actually thought when I first read that he meant during the game, but maybe he means right from the start, because Pogba played in the centre right from the start and Van de Beek started to the left. So he was removed from the left, but he was removed from the left before the ball was kicked, if you like. He's been playing on the left, Pogba, hasn't he? Now then, I don't understand it. He plays that role for France and plays it perfectly well. I've watched a couple of times him and Kante playing in the pivot, as they call it these days, and he plays it perfectly fine. Now, with about 25 minutes to go at 7-4, where we were under a little bit of pressure and they were looking like they might score. One of those occasions, by the way, Pogba had just got dispossessed. I'm going to mention that when I come to Tele, so I'll cover that one in a minute. He got dispossessed and they nearly scored. They broke and they played it across the box. And it was one of the ones where they got a shot in from inside the 6-yard box and it hit De Gea and just flashed it. He could have easily gone inside the post, but it just went outside the post and went out for a corner. That was where Pogba had been dispossessed in his own final third. That was another occasion. But he plays that role for France. Now, at that moment, or soon after that, a minute or so after that, they took him off and put Matic on. And as they've said here, he brought Matic on to shore things up. But that's the role that Pogba's in there to play. Pogba's won the World Cup playing in that role. How can you have to say to a player like Paul Pogba that we need to tighten it up? Can you not just say to Paul Pogba, come on, let's tighten it up? I just don't quite grasp it. I don't understand why he's not the same player in that role. And certainly, it's not just me saying this. Certainly, the manager seems to think that. Some people might say, "Oh, they took Pogba off to make sure he's fit or to make sure he's fresh for Sunday." I don't think so. It was just a little bit touch and go at that point. There was plenty of time left, more than 25 minutes left. It was 7-4. They'd just had 3 chances in 2 minutes. 3 chances in 2 minutes. So they subbed him. The 2 of them were in one incident where De Gea saved it and it came straight back and he shot again. So 2 of them were in the space of a second or 2. But literally 2 or 3 minutes later, they had the other chance where Pogba got dispossessed. So they had 3 chances to make it 7-5 in the space of 2 or 3 minutes. And at that moment, they took Pogba off then and put Matic on. I've got no doubt in my mind it was to tighten things up. It wasn't just to give Paul a rest. So there's something not quite right there for me. I don't get it. It's the role that he plays for France, and yet we're not happy with him playing that role. The manager, to me, that's why he doesn't play there regularly. McTominay and Fred play there regularly, and Pogba plays on the left. He doesn't trust him to do a role in which he has won a World Cup final, playing in that role. It's astonishing. So anyway, a 5 they've given Paul Pogba, which is average, and I would agree with that. He had an average game at best, I would say. Edinson Cavani should have scored before he made it 1-0 before half time. He had 2 chances before he scored. Roma's defence were an absolute dream to play against, and he got a second. That's what they've written. He got his second in the second half, didn't he? An header, really well taken header, and they've given him an 8, and an 8 is a very good game. Be a bit churlish after he'd scored 2 goals to sort of argue with that 8. He was caught offside 2 or 3 times that I wasn't happy with. He needs to time it better. A couple of people might say what you're talking about. There's a couple of balls through where he's just got to hold it a little bit, and then also he got dispossessed easily a couple of times. I'm tempted to say he just had a good game, but with his 2 really well taken goals, I will agree with the 8. An 8 is a very good game, so I'll say yes, an 8 for Edinson Cavani. And then I only rate the substitutes who get half a game. Alex Telles, they've given a 4-2, and Brandon Williams, they've given a 4-2. Now, bear in mind, they came on at half-time. We were leading 1-0 at half-time, so we didn't concede any goals in the first half, and we conceded 3 goals in the second half. For Williams, they put a forgettable season, including a particularly forgettable night under the cosh at right back. And for Telles, they've put compromised United's defensive stability, a major downgrade on Shaw. A major downgrade on Shaw is a generalisation. He is a major downgrade on Shaw, absolutely he is. That's how good Shaw is though. Telles is just a decent left back, no more. And Williams is just a decent right back, no more. But watching the game on the night and then watching it again the second time, neither of them played quite as badly as I first thought on the night. They've given them 4, which is poor. I'm going to up them both to a 5, which is average. I think they both had an average game, Alex Telles and Brandon Williams. I could speak about lots of things. I'll just mention 2 things. One I've already mentioned, well, I've mentioned both things already. One, Brandon Williams didn't get enough help from Mason Greenwood. You cannot just play at full-back on your own and without your winger tracking back and helping you. They doubled up on him too often, and it's difficult for you when you're playing against two men. On one occasion, by the way, because I was studying it closely, I was stopping it and starting it. The defence were all at sea. And I noticed one occasion where Baily is out of position, and because Baily's out of position, Telles is had to tuck in. Baily was out of position because he's had to cover Brandon Williams. It's all a knock-on effect. Baily was out of position because he had to cover Brandon Williams. And then because Baily was out of position, Maguire had to push further towards the near post. Because Maguire was further towards the near post, there was a man free in the box. And then because there was a man free in the box, Telles, you can't just leave a man free, almost on the edge of the 6-yard box, or, between the penalty spot and the 6-yard box. So Telles tucks right in. And then because Telles tucks right in, the ball will come right over the back to the man who really Telles should be marking. But you cannot blame Telles. And that was just one occasion. Now, on that occasion, Brandon Williams needed cover because Mason Greenwood was nowhere to be seen. So if Mason Greenwood was back helping Brandon Williams, Baily wouldn't have had to go out to help Brandon Williams. And it's just all a knock-on effect. It's about team shape. People laugh at me when I talk about team shape. These proper top teams that we've been watching recently. I watched Chelsea and City again yesterday. I watched Chelsea and City in the semi-final of the FA Cup. And I've watched Chelsea twice in the Champions League. Proper organised teams with the players knowing what they're doing and not leaving the teammates high and dry. And it's all a knock-on effect. People might say I'm going over the top. I am not going over the top. The team needs to be organised properly, and you need to know your role. And you can't leave your full-backs high and dry 1-on-2. You can't do it, and then it causes a ripple effect. It causes a ripple effect. Everybody's all at sea, rather than just being in the position that they should be in. So that was Williams getting left high and dry. Now, one more thing about Telles. I've mentioned Robbie Savage again here. I can't remember if it was the goal or whatever happened. I think it was the one. Yeah, it was the one where De Gea saved it and it just bounced towards the post. It almost went in the side netting, but it just went wide of the post and it went for a corner. And that was from a deflected shot at him from literally inside the 6-yard box, and they got a corner out of it. Robbie Savage in commentary said, "Where's Telles? Is nowhere to be seen. He's all over the place." Comments like that about Telles at that moment about that situation. So I thought, well, where is it? Let's have a look. So you can do this. You can't do this when you're watching it live. You can only do this, obviously, when you're watching it live. You want to see what happens next, don't you? So when you're watching it again, you can do this. So I thought, well, let's have a look where Telles is. So I rewound it. I mentioned this slightly earlier when I was talking about Pogba's performance. So what's happened? Telles has received the ball in the left-back spot. United are in control. So when you're in control of the ball, you are trying to find space. This is the thing about football that some people don't realise, don't think about. Maybe they realise it, but they don't think about it too often. When you've got the ball, you're trying to find space. No matter what position you're playing in, you want to be in space because you want to try and receive the ball. You want to give your teammate an option. So obviously, if you're trying to be in space, if your team turn the ball over, then if you're in space, then you're obviously not in a position to be able to mark a man instantly. You've got to move to get back in position to mark a man because you've already left. Even your fullbacks, think about it, the amount of passing that they do around the back. You try to find space, you try and stay away from your man if your man's back there, or maybe if your man pushes onto the centre-back, you go beyond him. So you're trying to find space. Now, if your team turn possession over, by the mere fact that you are in space, it means that you're not near somebody to be able to stop them or mark them. It's as simple as that. So what had happened here, Telles had received the ball, he passed the ball in field, we're in control, and then he's made a run forward. Now, your fullbacks are allowed to make runs forward. You're expected to make runs forward. So he makes a run forward. Pogba's got the ball in the middle of the field in plenty of time and space, and somehow or other loses control of it. They take it off him. By which time now Telles is almost near the halfway line. He's got to turn round and sprint back. So it just happens far too quickly. And, you know, they end up getting this chance that De Gea saves and they get a corner out of it. And the commentators are steaming into to Telles. Telles had not done anything wrong whatsoever in that particular instance. Nothing wrong whatsoever. And the Robbie Savage put all the blame on Telles. It's not Telles' fault. It's Pogba's fault. He's lost the ball. Telles made himself available in space. Nothing wrong with that. And then, obviously, when Pogba loses it, he's then got to race back. And that's what happened. And the reason he wasn't in the picture is that he'd made a run forward, hoping for the ball forward. And like I say, there's nothing wrong with your full-backs doing that. So they weren't, look, they weren't great. Of course they weren't. But they weren't as bad as I first thought. They've given them both a 4, Williams and Telles. Which is poor. I would say they were average, and I'll up them to a 5. Like I say, I only mark the substitutes who get half a game. I'd like to give a shout out to Nemanja Matic. Everybody knows how much I do like him, and I thought when he came on, compared to the other midfield players that had been playing, he was like a Rolls Royce when he came on. So hopefully he might get a game today. We've got 3 games now in 5 days, haven't we? We've got Villa today, we've got Leicester on Tuesday, we've got Liverpool on Thursday. Surely Matic will get at least 1 full game or at least 1 start. I'm praying it's in a strong team, because people will say, oh, it's gone wrong again. You know, like if Luke Shaw's missing and Telles plays, you know, the team's weaker. You know, I like Pogba on the left. If we play a game and Matic starts in the middle and we've got, say, Telles at left back and Marcus Rashford on the left wing, I'd much rather have Pogba on the left. He's playing great on the left. You know, so it's like, I've said this before, it's like playing with one arm tied behind your back. The team needs to be strong. So I'd love Matic to get a game. I'd like him to get a game today, but I'd like him to play in a full-strength team, you know, with Cavani, with Shaw, with Maguire and Lindelof, with McTominay next to him, with Pogba on the left. And then you might see a proper performance from Nemanja Matic. So that's that. So it's Villa today. I hope we get these 3 points. City. I watched City and Chelsea yesterday, by the way. What a job he's doing, Tuchel. And again, I think I said yesterday that I think Pep Guardiola slightly underestimated him in the FA Cup. I don't think he underestimated him so much yesterday. I don't think he really wanted to show his hand because they're playing him in the Champions League final. But I still think that he picked a team that he thought would get the job done, and they've ended up losing 2-1. So they still need 2 points. I think they need 3 points to win it, but the goal difference is so much better than ours. 2 will almost certainly do it, or if we drop 2. So we need to win. We are in the title race. I'm not suggesting that for one moment. I'd just like us to make it as, you know, go as deep as possible. So I'm hoping we can win, just so that the title isn't handed over to City today. In fact, we play 3 games before they play now. It's going to be a tough ask, us winning 3 games. But if we can win these 3 games, City play on Friday, and we'd only be 4 points behind them when they play. But like I say, they've got 3 games left, I think, to get 2 points. So we're not in a title race, but I'd just like it to go on as long as possible. So that's that. I'm looking forward to this Villa game this afternoon. I'll be going live. It's a 2:05 kickoff. About 10 to 1, I'll be going live, discussing the team news and seeing what he has gone with. So I can't wait for it. Looking forward to that. If you've enjoyed that show, please tell all your friends. Please subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.